Okay, up next, we have Alicia, Bill, and Anthony. So if you guys could raise your hands, I'm going to bring you guys into the panel. Alicia, maybe you can give us a little bit of a background on yourself, a quick intro, and thank you guys all for joining us.
For sure. Hello, everyone. I am Alicia Junis. I'm the owner of Accelerate Gaming. I'm also an international shoutcaster for Soul Calibur 6, Tekken World Tour, as well as Dead or Alive 6 World Championships. On top of all of that as well, I'm also like a YouTube partner, and I started learning about content creation recently because my players content create, so I want to understand them a little bit more. And that's a little spiel about me. Also was featured in an Amazon Prime documentary series, a little bit about my gaming history, and then also on top of that was nominated for Top Female Shoutcaster of the Year in 2020.
Amazing. That's awesome. You are eSports. I love that.
I am.
Great background. Bill, you're up.
Hey everyone, Bill, co-founder of Beat Esports. I've been in esports for 10 years. I've worked with Valve, Blizzard, Bethesda, Tencent, a bunch of major publishers. Hosted one of the first Canadian hockey arena events for Dota 2. I was in the Bell Center in 2016. I currently freelance on tech and esports at the moment. And I've been featured in ESPN, Global News, LifeWire, Score, and more. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you again, Bill. Great background as well. Anthony.
My name is Anthony Redoblato. I am the founder of Imaginix. When I was a kid, I actually competed in local Cineplex tournaments. So I got first place in like a Street Fighter 2 tournament. By 1994, I was competing in the 1994 Blockbuster Video Game Championships, where I got third place. But today I own Imaginix, and we're building an esports gaming entertainment hub. So in my spare time, I like to play Fortnite and Rocket League, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I think that that was all amazing intros. You guys have a really depth background in anything and everything to do on this esports side. So we're very excited that we get to chat with you guys today. So today we're going to talk about, which is, kind of the path to being a pro and where you guys have come from and kind of how you got into this space and not just around, where you are today, but what it took to get to where you are today in this space. And maybe we can start that off by, and Anthony, you brought that just by sharing a little bit about your first competition. Maybe you want to touch a little bit more on that and share a bit to the community of kind of where that started and what got you interested and why you decided to jump into this online competition.
Well, first off, I love video games. I used to play more video games than do my homework. So I would probably play for about 8 to 10 hours a day, and maybe 5 to 6 hours during the week. So I'd play I started with Super Mario Brothers, played a lot of Nintendo. My thumb started to bend because I played so much. Then I started getting into Street Fighter 2 and started playing that. So I decided there was a local competition and I decided to put my skills to the test. Me and my brother both joined the tournament. I ended up getting first and my brother got second. So it was a really cool experience and my first foray into esports. And then came along the 1994 Blockbuster Video Game Championship. And, I was playing games like Donkey Kong Country, NBA Jam, and they just so happened to be using those games for the tournament. So I started practicing more, put in 8 to 10 hours a day, and I got third place and got free movies out of that. So that was my experience. Yeah.
Amazing. And Alicia, I have to go around the horn on this because everybody's going to have their own little unique experience. So maybe you can share what got you into the space.
What got me into the space, interestingly enough, was random old guys in arcades. I used to be really, really antisocial as a kid. Had really, really poor social skills, actually. Surprisingly enough, now I talk for a living. But yeah, when I was young, I definitely had really regressed social skills. And it was something that my family really tried to help me with, but it was kind of hitting like a brick wall at one point. And what I used to always be fascinated with was gaming. And I used to go to arcades and play with these older dudes huddled around fighting game machines. So it was usually like Soul Blade and like the original Tekkens. And it's where I started to actually be able to talk to people, because though I was bad socially for other elements, it was something I was actually more comfortable with, was asking questions and being curious about a game. And from there, it just progressed. It just completely throttled me forward when it came to talking to people. And it started from such a humble beginning, which was, try to like sell my recess snacks when I was like 9 years old to kids at school for quarters, just so I could go play at these arcades every day. And it created this competitive drive within me, and carrying it throughout my life, and just being really thankful to gaming to bring people together no matter what, and especially in this online era now too. So.
Oh, that's a great story. Bill, how about yourself?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I was a fan of Dota 2 and StarCraft. So I used to watch Dota and StarCraft a lot back in the day. But how I got started was I started a community fan site on Dota 2, Canada, basically. And we hosted a tournament for $100. That was our start. So it's like 4 teams. We didn't do very well, and we learned a lot, basically. And then, over time, we kept at it, and we worked with Valve. We got in-game items in the game. We got a community chest, crowdfunded some money, and then we hosted an arena event in Dota in Bell Center. So that was like a couple of years ago, and then we're still at it, and I've evolved ever since. So I think it's a continuous evolution, to be honest. So yeah.
Brilliant. Ben, I got to ask you what your starting game was that got you into this as well.
Yeah, for me, I mean, as a player, as a kid, it was really just getting in front of NES in the late 80s. My next door neighbor, actually, he's the head of Bloom Burton, like huge, very successful healthcare executive, taught me everything I know about video games. But it was sports. Like I sucked at real sports, and I just tried to make up for that with video games. So it's the NHLs, the NBAs, and that really carried me.
Love it. I think I probably it feels like back then I probably blew $1 billion on track and field, put the pencil on there, just going like, but back in those days, I don't know what I spent, but it felt like that. I probably could have been a millionaire. Or arcade games were pretty popular too, right? So those are pretty big, as Alicia said. So now you guys you've kind of taken this journey that you've been on since you were a kid and moved your way through, and that's pretty common today. And I think one of the things that we really wanted to learn more about is how do I get into this competitive nature of this? So Anthony, when you started out, you kind of went into it. How did you find out about it? What got you driven into doing more of this competitive side? And how can you share with the community on ways that they can participate, because maybe they want to make money, maybe they want to build a business out of this? What kind of advice or what things have you gone through that really helped you hone a skill and feel that this was a good spot for you to kind of grow in?
Well, first off, if anything, it's all about having a passion for all of this, starting really young. And if anything, today, like compared to when I was I had to find out through newspapers. The internet was just sort of growing with, the old times with AOL CDs and dial-up. So, I mean, I had to find out through newspaper, a little bit of internet. And through word of mouth, I think it was my mom who found the Cinebolux tournament in the Toronto Star. So she ended up signing us up, and I got in through there. But if I were to go through it today, I mean, it's about having supportive parents, having the right equipment, and if anything, joining, the right community to go into all of this. But yeah, it's if anything, that's how I went about it. Yeah.
And how much has that changed to today? Like you mentioned that there's different ways. Is it all forum based? Is it figuring out where to get into this and just start to move your way around the ecosystem?
Sure. If anything, it would be creating your account on Twitch, and to just start streaming. I don't think there's any other thing to put the practice in, because if you want to get really good, you should probably put about anywhere from 10 hours a day plus. I mean, I know they don't recommend doing 18-hour days because it has other effects on you. But if anything, you should put about 10 hours a day, really pick one game and one platform, because you're going to really want to, sort of own your craft playing these video games. You don't want to diversify too much. And if anything, create that Twitch account, start streaming, and pick that one game, and you're good to go.
So there's a lot of focus built into this sport. So it is kind of like, as I mentioned in the previous panel, you guys are the NBA stars right now, and you've got kind of that one card that you're playing, or you're a basketball player and you're focusing on that. So Bill, in what you've experienced and gone through in your career now to where you are today, what was your focus? Was it built to become, again, building these platforms into large arenas? What was that focus for you? And was it more of being an operator versus a gamer?
Yeah, so for me, it's more about an operator. I was good at Dota, but I was never professional. So I realized that pretty quickly. So I decided to do tournaments instead. For someone getting involved in the space, it's a little daunting sometimes, potentially, as a newcomer. So, I feel that the community is fairly open. So sometimes, having a candid conversation with someone on, your business idea, or, what you want to do or accomplish can help. So if there's anyone on here on listening, send me a note. Why not, right? And the other things are, when I started, there weren't really a lot of opportunities, so I had to make my own opportunities at the time. So it's very difficult in Canada, especially, to look for an esports company. So we decided just to make our own and do something and see where it went. There wasn't really a goal in mind at the beginning to be like, yeah, we're going to do a hockey arena in 2016. It was more like, okay, let's see where this goes and who we work with and the journey, to be honest. So. Yeah.
Which again is pretty exciting that you saw the opportunity regardless. And instead of doing it from a gaming perspective, you went in it from a business perspective. And I think community-wise, people would be just as interested to understand, well, how did you do this as a community, build a business, versus looking at yourself like, I have to be a gamer. That's the only way I'm going to crack into this industry. And you kind of reverse that angle. So when you made that decision, was it, hey, I'm just not good at gaming? Or was it, I love this community and I can see an opportunity here that I got to go after? Yeah,
I mean, I really like the community. So what I just, you have to be passionate too, right? So if you're in it only for the money, then, we all know esports is still growing revenue wise. So we decided, okay, how are we going to pay prize pools? How are we going to pay players? How are we going to pay ourselves? So we decided, okay, what's the business model for a tournament organizer? That includes sponsorship, in-game cosmetics, selling your rights to other streaming platforms. And then, if we had a COVID-free environment, ticket sales, merchandise, that sort of thing. So, that's how we kind of evolved over time. We figured out our business model and kind of grew it as well. So, yeah.
I love it. And Alicia, how do you fit in this space with, and you do a lot of things, and now, like you said, more on the content side, but what got you started in this, like that first game, and where you decided, hey, I'm amazing at this, I'm just going to drive it through from the gaming side, and then you kind of grew into the marketing side and said, hey, you know what, if I want to be great at X, I got to promote myself and I got to find a way to create a vehicle here to drive me forward?
For sure. Yeah. So I guess I'll tackle this in like a 3-part sort of system here. So when it came to me originally as a competitor, it started off with me like entering into tournaments and being recognized rather quickly. Though I used to hide my face back then and people didn't really know who I was except for this sort of omniscient person on the internet that happened to be a female. And to the point where I didn't even like use a camera or anything. So I was very determined for people to not know who I was, but rather my ability and the level that I played at. And that's something that I carried on with me when it came to my company as well, is that we wanted to take on talent, not based on appearances, not based on hitting a diversity quota or not even a diversity quota, but based on talent. It was something that I had. Like, I was just a really good player. And when it came to tournaments, people would crowd around me, watching me, being like, who is this girl? And why is she playing against Sonic Fox? Like, what is happening here? Right. And it was just really cool to see that sort of develop, because it just gained a lot of respect. Was that competing and just going out there and giving it a shot earned me the respect purely through the fact that I was good at the game. And I guess it was also sort of a hindrance at the same time, though, because when you go in person and you are a female and a woman of color, even the worst thing you could be in gaming, people tend to kind of put you on a back burner or tend to almost want to like dim your light, and they aren't scared to say something rude around you, which is also crazy. Like they just are offhanded about everything, but you push through it all, and it gives you even more of a platform to shine because you're proving, I guess, the sort of negative mentality towards you and your people incorrect. And it definitely just pushed me way further along my career path because of that. When it came to commentary, not so much like pick a game and become good at it. It's just you either got it or you're not. You're either charismatic or you're not. And I luckily am. So that worked out for me when it came to that. Also, the fact that I love numbers and I love just like analyzing anything and everything. So when it came to commentary, like I can look at a move and tell you how many frames it is, how much the other person's like moves it in relation to those frames, take advantage. I can do stuff like that on the fly without thinking. So it kind of just meshed perfectly. It came to my company. That was me saying, hey, do you know what? Like, one, I love the community. Two, I do have a business mentality. How can I make this coincide with one another? How can I take this to the next step where in this baby industry that is esports, where it's growing rapidly, of course, but it's just like the film industry 50 years ago, right? Where, of course, the film industry now is it's just this massive enigma. But it started somewheres. And it was at the same point where I find esports is right now, like 50 years ago for film, where it's massive and it's blowing up, but it has such a massive trajectory it's going on. Why not start that for one game category itself, which is the fighting game community, where it started off as a grassroots scene and being one of the pioneers in its evolution to make it into a competitive pro gaming scene.
That's awesome. And great story. I like the mystery person playing the game and crushing it, and everybody getting behind this mystery person and finding out it's a woman, and you're like, yeah, too bad, move aside, I'm crushing this game. People are getting behind it. So that's amazing. And Bill, when you've built all this stuff out, what made you decide what is a great gamer? Because you went in as a gamer, coming out as a business, and now you're actually bringing gamers into your platform. So you must have to go through them and decide, okay, is this person good? Is this person bad? Is this person toxic? Can they really crush it? Are you looking for people that have got, I don't know, a million Twitch followers because you want to really be able to amp up what you're doing, even if they're not a great gamer, but they're okay? So what are the types of things that you're looking for in order to get somebody better suited into the space and growing?
Depends on the audience and depends on the tournament I'm running. So there's two different types. Generally, there's a competitive tournament, and this other ones are show matches, kind of like Twitch rivals, that sort of thing. If it's a competitive tournament, I will try to scout the teams that are as good as possible. So I don't particularly care, because I want the best competitive tournament that I can get as a tournament organizer. So in kind, what happens is players are receptive to me inviting them because they're recognized for their skills, and then the audience is then saying, "Wow, the team was really good. No one gave them a chance except you guys. I'm going to tune in next time and watch." So there's kind of a marketing component as well if you put on a good tournament and that's well received by players and audience. So from the competitive side, that's what I look for. Best possible that I can afford with my budget, because budget comes into mind now, especially with players and teams. So you have to take that into account. And then from a kind of a Twitch rivals or show match side, that one is more along the lines of, okay, who's popular? If it's a one-day show match, we try to get as many people and eyeballs on the product as we can, rather than not necessarily always the best player. So that makes sense. Yeah. And
is it always team based?
It depends the game. So some will be individual based, some will be team. As a tournament organizer, you have to adapt. So yeah.
Very cool. And Anthony, on your side, being this early gamer and hitting the market up, what defines a gamer to you? What do you think really defines someone that could go pro? I think the big question is, I've been playing for 20 years. Am I awesome? And can you make me a pro? Or what do I got to do to become pro? And what gets me into this position of playing 10 hours a day because I'd rather be playing games and being strategic about it than working my 9 to 5.
Well, if anything, aside from playing 10 to 15 hours, as Alicia mentioned, you have to have some sort of natural talent, I believe. And putting that extra hours of practice, you're sort of nurturing that. So if anything, that's what I think would make a pro, is learning strategies, developing your eye and hand coordination, developing all your abilities in the game, and knowing all the game mechanics of whether, no matter what game it is, you got to be really thorough. And the thing is with all of this is everything could change today. So the game is like the football, and every time a publisher publishes an update, like the entire game could change. So it's really important to stay up to date. Really important to put in those hours of work, and that's what I think makes you a pro.
So there's another element that really kind of tweaks my interest in being a pro or working your way to a pro. And that's really based around the audience and how you can interact with the audience. And I'm going to kind of guess, Alicia, that you probably knocked this one out of the park when it comes to having an online real personality that people can get behind. So is it kind of like that old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease? Is it the loud, the volume? Or is it that you're able to, one, back it up by being a great player, and two, being able to talk your way and entertain people? So you're almost your own entertainment channel while you're gaming. Is that a better way to describe how a player needs to work their way up? Can you have a professional that's amazing that's got 5 followers on Twitch, or it's a pretty good chance that that's not going to be the case?
I think that would just have to be around the definition of what is a good professional, right? Because if you have 5 followers, even if you're a god at the game, you're no longer a good professional. And that's the unfortunate circumstance that is today. I think that everyone has potential based on their personality. So for example, if you are like a 5 follower streamer who's a god at the game, but at the same time, you have the charisma and the personality behind it, you could be a worthy investment, where what you just need is just a platform to actually kind of accelerate further, which is the whole point of my company's title, was Accelerate Gaming. But yeah, which is kind of how we started. We have like one player that we have in general, he never competed in a tournament, had maybe 100 followers at the time when he started, and he just played phenomenally. So we sponsored him to go to his first tournament, and he came in second at a majors in the professional league at his first tournament. And it was something that we didn't fully expect out of him, but we wanted to see what could happen here. And it's sometimes these people who are, I guess, more on the smaller end, who are charismatic and put this drive and effort in, who are also extremely talented, just don't get the recognition they deserve. And that's where becoming, I guess, really smart in the sense of how social media works is important, right? A good example being was that I guess at the peak of when I was commentating, this would have been back in 2019, when events were still on a strong front. I was the first female commentator for a top 8 at EVO, which is the largest fighting game tournament in the world. And when it came to that tournament, I was like, okay, this is my one chance to like shove myself from being just an esports caster for the FGC and one that's an internationally acclaimed commentator, and to make sure that I establish myself as a top commentator and not just a top female shoutcaster. So with that, I took to Twitter, I took to everything, like running, absolutely sprinting, right? To make sure my impressions got up to about 5 million impressions per month on Twitter, where I was like, I need to make sure that I get up there and my engagement follows suit. And there's nothing people love more than being honest and being vulnerable. And I think where we're separating from 2018, 2017's age of perfect lifestyles, perfect homes, perfect cars, into an era of we want real people. We're all locked up in our homes. We want to see real people being real. And I do that all the time. If I'm playing an emotional game and I cry during a cutscene, I cry during a cutscene. If I am excited over something, I will yell. If I'm upset, I will say I'm upset. Like, it's one of those things where it's so taken for granted how much being a real person can help your branding, because people want to see real people being human.
It's amazing. One that you can turn that off and on and just go with the flow. I think that's incredible. So now that you found it, Bill, meet Alicia, Alicia, meet Bill. I think Alicia is going to really help on your gaming side. I think she should be at almost every event. I think you carry a lot of, 5 million followers and everything else. That's incredible. So I think you
5 million impressions per month. So
that's still incredible. So you carry a lot of impact in this space. And I think that really defines you as not only as a business or you could almost classify it as a character in this space, but it drives people to connect in and feel comfortable inside of it. Because just like on my end, I've been following different people that write on the space. And I've been following certain writers for like 10, 15 years. And I just love reading their content because it's really hyper-focused in an area. So to me, they're the rock star of that space. And I think that's what you need to build up as a persona inside of this esports or just gaming in general, is that you got to build that persona. And I think you've done an incredible job doing that. So from the platforms and being competitive, Bill, is there certain aspects that you look for that you want as a team driver with people that can do when they're joining your events? So are you guys streaming across all platforms? Are you guys really blowing this up? So yes, you're in a big forum, you're at the Bell Center, but are you streaming it across Twitch and every other platform that's going to drive value back to you and to those players?
Okay, so it depends on your contract as a tournament organizer. You may have exclusive rights. So if you're partnered with YouTube or Twitch, they may have exclusivity clauses. So you'd have an exclusive clause with them for a certain amount of time, and then you can export to YouTube or those other platforms. Now, generally, tournaments or dated content doesn't age too well beyond like a month or two. So you want to be timely on when you export the content or get those Twitch clips in as the event is going on, so you can get those impressions and those retweets. Now, in terms of foreign languages, generally you'll have some sort of agreement as a tournament organizer to sell the rights. Now, let's say a Chinese broadcaster wants to buy your tournament, they'll pay some money, so they have exclusive rights in China for your tournament. So you would give them a clean feed, and they put the tournament on in their language as well. So that's how it kind of works as a tournament organizer for distribution. Now, if I didn't have any exclusivity clauses, then yeah, I would try to get as many eyeballs out as possible on different platforms. But contracts come into play, publishers come into play. They may not want you to stream on a certain platform. So there's a lot of factors as a tournament organizer that you have to take into account for. So
it sounds like it's pretty complicated when you're trying to build an environment to get a lot of people in on all sides to it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, it may have not been as complex, but then, as you realize the business models and, the control publishers have and, the contracts, then it gets a little bit more complex on, relationship management and making sure you know what you're signing up for. So, yeah, for sure.
Incredible. Ben, I'll throw you back into the mix again, Ben, because I want to tie more into the question around when you started gaming and when you started to kind of fit into this environment. Were you going and you started to accelerate and incubate a lot of these startups inside of, again, the esports space? How did you feel, and where did that value come for you? Where did you see that exchange occurring in value? Was it getting behind that esports player and growing with that as Alicia's doing, or was it more on the business side and trying to build that function in that could build something bigger and better over the next few years?
Yeah, well, firstly, shout out to Anthony. Imaginix was a member of Level 6, the last cohort that we have. I think that the genesis was someone sent me an esports deck and they confused like revenue, expenses, and profit. And that was just kind of like the tipping point for me, where I said, listen, like you can't rival, the passion, but I think the business acumen is really necessary. And there wasn't really an incubator out there. So that's why we launched it at the end of 2019. And that person who made that mistake actually came into the incubator, and everything's good now. And he learned a lot of the critical business skills, financial modeling, and things like that. But that's what we try to encourage is to build a really exciting schedule of industry professionals that are going to be hands-on. And even though I'm an advisor of other incubators, and they're great, but I think like at the end of the day, people need help to get their product or service into market and to do it in a practical way. And that's sort of what we try to do with our incubator.
I like it. And I guess from Anthony's perspective on where that's kind of taken him and the learning that he's gained from this, does it still feed back, even though it's a business, does it feed back to the gamer? Does it help educate them through that gaming to become a pro at any point in time? Or is it just strictly on the business side?
Are you talking about for me? So for me, it's strictly on the business side for me. And I'm really glad to have gone through level 6 with Ben, learned a lot. But yeah, for me, basically what I do today is we're building a gaming entertainment hub. It's kind of like Twitch, and it's kind of like for the next generation of gamers. We're doing exclusive content. We're going to be doing live streaming, and thank you to Ben and his with level 6. I was able to learn a lot more about the business, sort of fine tweak it, get financial modeling, learn more about the market. So for me, it was a very helpful process to go through. And now we're kind of gearing up to launch very soon. Yeah.
Love it. So everybody in this space is kind of early stage been the gamer, and they've worked themselves through the stages of growth as a gamer. And now they've kind of looked at this, hey man, I'm part of this universe. I love it. I'm passionate about it. I think there's a bigger opportunity here. I'm going to help others, but I'm going to create a business and kind of drive it through there. So I love that you've all kind of shifted from being that gamer. And Alicia, are you still playing 10, 12 hours a day as the mystery lady, or are you kind of taking a different approach?
Definitely not playing that many hours a day. But harboring other people to play that many hours a day for sure. But for myself, not as much. So.
Okay. I was just checking because I'm like, you'd have a busy day then. We're running a business and playing 10 hours a day or more. So no, that's brilliant. Well, I think we're gonna shift a little bit into Ben's questions, because Ben's got these great rapid fire questions, and then that'll allow us to kind of reseed it. But I think overall, what I love about what you guys have all done, again, outside of taking yourself from a player and moving right into the business side of it, is that you found opportunities, you found a way to professionalize something you had a lot of passion for. And I've been part of multiple gaming studios going into them. There's one right down the street at Young Street, been in there multiple times. Young and Dundas was just north, but such an amazing space and such a great amount of people that join into this. So kudos for you guys for kind of making that shift and growing it into something even more exciting. Ben, over to you.
All right. Want to break things up, make it a little light, make it fun. Great to see you guys. Great to see you guys again. So let's kick it off. I want to hear predictions. 5 years from now, what is going to be the biggest game in the world, any platform, or you could say something new?
I would have to say it's not going to be a competitive game. It's going to be a collaborative game. So in reality, the reason why Among Us blew up the way that it did, even though it was a game that was released in 2018, it was the fact there was able to be so many hotshot celebrities in gaming, as well as outside of gaming, able to participate in this game. Collaborative work is one of the best things to rake in viewership. And then on top of that, the next step beyond that is the fact that it needs to be easy and digestible for people outside of gaming organically, which is why Among Us had the success that it did. I think that's the next step for 5 years from now, is that we're going to see games like that where they're less of an esports scene and more of a scene that's understandable for anybody involved, and including those who are even organic to gaming, but done at a competitive level as well. Same thing for Among Us, where there's Among Us tournaments. Even myself have played in an Among Us tournament rather recently. I think it was about a month ago, where like there's still like a point system, there's still like a rating and a laddering, and so things like that still do apply, but doing it with other like hotshot creators as well.
Okay, great. So Among Us and the Jimmy Fallon with the Roots and the cast of Stranger Things, like these are these awesome collaborations. All right, let's rapid fire these. Bill, what do you think? 5 years, who's taking the title?
The game doesn't exist right now. It's going to be something casual that appeals to the masses, probably, like Alicia said. That's what I think. So
nice. Anthony?
So I think the game doesn't exist right now. I do agree with Alicia where it's going to be collaborative. But if anything, it's going to be easy to pick up and hard to compete with, just to make it fun. but definitely collaborative all the way.
Okay. Everyone agrees. Okay. I'm going to try to we'll step up the controversy here. On the topic of predictions, 5 years out, is Twitch still the leader or can somebody catch them? Anthony, what do you think? Rapid fire it.
I think it's going to be Dreamplay, the platform we're building.
Nice. Bill, 5 years?
I think there are competitors reaching for Twitch's crown as we speak, and Twitch will be its own worst enemy potentially. So I think they'll still be on top, but they'll lose market share.
Nice. Alicia?
I think Twitch's biggest downfall and mistake right now is the fact that they don't have a better music system for themselves, where they don't have like a licensing program out for their creators that's a stronger contender. I think the first platform that can achieve that will definitely be throttled forward. I think Twitch is still going to be the most dominant purely for how it is, but technically Twitch is not the most dominant streaming platform in the world. It's actually Douyin, right, from China, where it has 38 million more viewers per month than Twitch does. So it's like, but they do their complete site correctly versus what Twitch does. It's just that Twitch doesn't have the access to understanding what they do over in China. So it'd be interesting to see them integrate how well China does their platform. But then again, Twitch is being pretty archaic at the moment and not advancing the way they should. So
Nice. Okay. I think everything's going to be owned by Tencent anyway, so none of this makes a difference. You are stranded on a desert island. You know how this one starts. Somehow there's a full PC setup. Somehow there's lightning fast internet, and you can only download one game. What are you playing on this desert island for the rest of your life or whatnot? Let's start with you, Bill.
Let's go Path of Exile.
Good. I'm glad you didn't say Dota.
There we go.
All right, nice. What do you guys? Desert Island, what's your game?
do we have internet is the question.
Lightning fast internet, yes.
Okay, I would say VR chat.
VR chat?
Yep.
Okay,
Just talking to
nice.
people in VR.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, cool. Anthony?
So I'm going to be playing Rocket League for the rest of my life because I love it so much.
Wow, that's bold. Wow. Okay, good for you. Let's.
I'm gonna jump into that one and say
yeah,
Jedi
yeah.
Knight series because I've been playing that one for so long, and the games just keep morphing, and I can't help but I think it's a great game. So all of
Nice. It's a tough question, the desert island, but somehow it has a full PC and lightning fast internet question. A couple more. Who in the industry do you really aspire and look up to?
I can take this one. I believe in having no heroes. I think heroes and putting people on pedestals is not, I wouldn't say it leads to disappointment, but it leads to an unrealistic goal for yourself in the sense that why are you not your own goal? Because if you don't set yourself your own precedents, you don't set yourself your own standards, and you live by somebody else's, then you aren't being authentic to yourself or being true to yourself. So I believe in no heroes always. Don't put people on a pedestal.
Oh, come on. Name a name. Give us a name.
You, Ben, I'll be cheesy. There we go.
Okay. No, I respect that. Okay, Bill, what about you? Who are you looking up to?
Ice Frog, creator of Dota. There we go.
Solid. Okay, Anthony, what about you?
Shigeru Miyamoto, just because I love what he did with Nintendo and its characters, and it's really inclusive and fun. So that's sort of like my childhood. So it's definitely him.
Jeffrey, what do you think? Let's get you in the lightning round.
I was actually with Alicia saying, I was like, brilliant. I love what she's saying because there are so many people that you look up to. I can't pick any of them. I just like the people that really dominate the space by helping others kind of pick them up and move them forward. So I can't pick one, but I'm a fan of that space of how people do it. So
yeah, awesome. All right, let's end it off with a prediction. Okay, which team is going to be the first to win a world championship world title? Leafs, Jays, Toronto Ultra, Call of Duty League, or Toronto Defiant, Overwatch League? Anyone could jump in. Who's the first to take the crown?
Toronto Ultra, for me.
Mathematically, that does make the most sense. It's only 12 teams. It's good pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the same. I'd say the same.
Got a solid team. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Leafs because there's hope this year, but I don't know. Still try.
Yeah.
But probably
Did
they'll
they say
try.
they were going to win this year? I thought it was predicted that they were going to win this year.
Oh, I know exactly. They planned the parade already, so let's go.
Yeah. If they do, I will not be an Islanders fan anymore.
Oh, no way. All right, let's do it.
Very excited for the most socially distanced parade we'll ever see.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
I have
Okay,
a feeling
thanks.
that may not happen, Ben. I'm
Yeah.
not sure people in Toronto are really into that non-having marches and stuff like that. So
No, not in May or June. They're not. Yeah.
no, agreed. Well, there's been a few other comments that have come up, and one of them was indie games. So, are there any indie games that you think are going to really take some grassroots pull and push forward? Anything you guys think of?
I think a really cool concept that just has been released into early access recently is Core. I don't know if you guys know about Core or not, from Epic Games, where it's basically a game in which you can create your own games and your own mini games using their own models. And I think that's something that's really brilliant of Epic to do, to be able to release their own models and their own products in there so that you're able to create your own. I think that's a good step for the future. As for like the most upcoming indie game, as I said before, anything that can allow collaboration will succeed.
Okay. Anybody else?
Valheim was pretty cool. It's been a couple months now, but it's been pretty popular. They're fairly independent, and yeah, I mean it's hard to predict the indie games. I mean sometimes it just strikes a chord with the right market and just does very well. And the publishers and developers really know their audience and they do well. So yeah.
And for me, the game that blew me away was Among Us. I don't know how big or small I was, but I ended up playing it with, level 6 on one of the nights, and it just blew me away. So games like that, I think, are going to really take off.
Ben, how about you? Any indie games that you think are going to really make a mark?
It's hard to say with I don't play a ton of indie PC games. Definitely very impressed with the Fall Guys sort of coming out of nowhere. I wouldn't really even call it indie, especially not now after the acquisition. But I think games that just push the genres a little bit differently, like Battle Royale is cool, but what does it look like outside of a shooter game? And I think when people kind of break open some of the stereotypes of a genre, that's when we're seeing really exciting new games. Also, just in general, it's very expensive to create the IP. So I just feel like a lot of the games are recycling old IP and getting kind of lazy. But you guys had some great suggestions that when I have some time, I want to check them out.
And one last question that goes a little bit to yourself on the incubator side. How does someone get into that? And I don't know if the other businesses are incubating as well, because it kind of sounds like you all could be, especially in the forms that you've built. But what is a way for an esports company or potential company to get into one of these incubators, accelerators?
Yeah, I dropped the link in the chat there, so you can go on our website and take a look, learn a little bit more about it. We're going to be starting the third cohort. It's probably going to be in the spring, and we have some great advisors and mentors. We have Mike Armstrong, the Chief Marketing Officer for Overactive Media, who built the Toronto Ultra brand. So he'll come on. Guys like Adam Kleiman, Senior Esports Manager at Ubisoft, will talk about how to build and work with game publishers. So we kind of take someone from every aspect of the industry. We've got a great professor, Carol Meissner from Georgian College, teaches esports, and also she's a parent. Her son's a pro player. So we try to get all these different perspectives. And you can see everything on the website.
Awesome. That sounds like quite the mix. Pro player and teaching esports. That's pretty amazing. I love it. Anybody else? All right.
That's where I copy and paste Ben's link a second time and say, check it out. That's definitely the way to go, is to check out Ben's site for sure.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Well, now that we're going to kind of wrap our way through this wrap up, one last thing that you guys want to share, comment, I leave it to you for the last word. And we can start with you, Anthony. Anything you want to share to the community about becoming a gamer or building a business? Any final thoughts? But turn it over to you to share.
Sure. If anything, have a lot of passion for it. I mean, I'm working on my startup, and I'm happy that I got in touch with Ben. We're getting closer to building startups in general. So have a lot of passion and have a lot of fun.
Perfect. Bill, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, just get involved, put yourself out there. You never know what'll happen. That's my advice. And make sure you network, meet people.
Agreed. Makes a big difference. Alicia.
I guess the biggest thing would be is don't be afraid of shining and outshining anyone. I think one of the biggest struggles I had was, I guess, my ingrained like sexism towards my own gender to a degree, where it's so ingrained into you to be overly humble all the time, where I found myself being apologetic without reason. I found myself constantly trying to like dial it back for others, which was the most insane concept in the world, because if I was literally any other skin tone or not this gender, I never would have done that for even a second. And now I might seem a little bit egotistical, but at the same time, live life unapologetically, right? You got to stand by what you do. And I think it's important that people should find pride in what they do. And I find pride in my accolades now, and I find pride in myself. So it's important to have those.
Well, I'm going to say that I think all of you have come a long way, and you've made a big push and a big stance. And I think that's probably why you're able to open up and be yourself. You found a passion and a love for where you are. And I think that that's what puts you guys on top. So kudos and congratulations to all of you for your successes, and keep pushing hard. And thank you very much again for joining us today. You guys are the rock stars of the NBA, or esports. But thank you very much for that, because you guys are brilliant.